5,000 sailors live on this aircraft carrier for 6 months straight. No days off, no going home, just endless ocean and a floating city that never sleeps. The quarters are so cramped that sailors share beds in rotating shifts. The kitchen serves 18,000 meals a day. And the work? Most crew members pull 18-hour shifts in conditions that would break civilians in a week. But here's what most people don't realize. The hardest part isn't the combat missions or the dangerous flight deck. It's the brutal reality of surviving in a metal box where privacy doesn't exist. Sleep is a luxury, and every single day blends into the next until you can't remember what month it is or what your family's voices sound like. Chapter 1. The Sleeping Nightmare. Your bed on an aircraft carrier isn't a bed. It's called a rack, and it's basically a coffin with a mattress. 6 feet long, 2.5 feet wide, stacked 3 high with barely 18 inches of space between you and the person above you. If you're claustrophobic, you're about to have 6 months of hell. 150 sailors sleep in one berthing compartment. The air is thick, humid, and smells like a mix of sweat, industrial cleaner, and whatever someone microwaved at 2 a.m. The ventilation system hums constantly at a frequency that burrows into your skull, but it never quite keeps up with the body heat of that many people crammed into one space. You get one rack. That's it. No room assignments based on preference. Junior enlisted sailors get whatever's available, and if you're unlucky, you're sleeping directly under a pipe that drips condensation or next to the berthing entrance where the door slams every 5 minutes. But here's where it gets worse. The ship operates 24/7, which means someone is always sleeping and someone is always making noise. Flight operations shake the entire ship every 45 seconds when a catapult launches a 30-ton fighter jet from 0 to 165 miles per hour in 2 seconds. It sounds like a controlled explosion directly above your head. The arresting gear catching jets during landing creates a metal-on-metal screech that vibrates through the hull. Therefore, you learn to sleep through anything, or you don't sleep at all. Earplugs become more valuable than cash. Some sailors duct tape their rack curtains shut to block out the fluorescent lights that never turn off. Others invest in sleep masks, white noise machines, anything to create the illusion of darkness and quiet in a place where neither exists. And if you think you're getting 8 hours of sleep, forget it. Most sailors average 4 to 6 hours, broken up between watch shifts. You might sleep from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., work until 2 p.m., sleep again from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., then work until midnight. Your circadian rhythm gets destroyed within the first 2 weeks. Your rack becomes your only private space in a city of 5,000 people. It's where you keep your phone, your photos, your letters from home. Some sailors string up Christmas lights or stick photos to the metal ceiling inches from their face. You'll defend that 15 square feet like it's your home, because for 6 months, it is. Chapter 2. Feeding an entire city. The galley on the USS Gerald R. Ford serves 18,000 meals every single day. That's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and midrats. Midnight rations for the night shift crew who need hot food at 3 a.m. This isn't a restaurant. This is an industrial feeding operation that makes prison cafeterias look gourmet. The cooks aren't trained chefs. They're 19-year-old sailors who went through a 6-week culinary crash course, and now they're responsible for feeding an entire city. They work in 120-degree heat, standing for 16-hour shifts, cooking in the middle of the ocean while the ship rocks through 30-foot swells. Try flipping eggs on a griddle when the deck is pitching 15 degrees in either direction. The kitchen itself is a maze of industrial equipment crammed into spaces barely wide enough to turn around. Massive ovens that can only fit 4 trays at a time, grills the size of pool tables, fryers that can handle 200 pounds of French fries in one batch. And everything is bolted down because when the ship hits rough seas, unsecured equipment becomes a 500-pound projectile. But here's the insane part. The ship can only resupply every 2 weeks through a process called underway replenishment. That means they load 18,000 eggs, 3,000 pounds of coffee, 2,000 pounds of chicken, and 1,500 gallons of milk at a time. Everything is stored in massive freezers and refrigerators below deck, some of them 5 levels down in spaces so cold you can see your breath. When they run low on fresh food, and they always do, you're eating frozen vegetables and powdered eggs for weeks. Fresh milk disappears after the first week at sea. Then you're drinking the shelf-stable stuff that tastes like cardboard mixed with water. Fresh fruit becomes a distant memory. By week 3, salads turn into iceberg lettuce with ranch dressing and nothing else. Therefore, the menu gets creative out of necessity. Taco Tuesday becomes sacred. Pizza. Friday is the highlight of the week, even though the pizza is made from pre-made dough and sauce that comes in 5-gallon buckets. And when morale gets low, the cooks break out the soft-serve ice cream machine, and suddenly Suddenly, everyone's mood improves. The chow line moves fast. You grab a tray, get your food slopped onto compartmentalized sections by sailors who've been serving for 6 hours straight, find a seat at long metal tables bolted to the floor, and eat in 15 minutes because there's always another shift waiting. No lingering, no conversation, just fuel and go. And the food? It's not bad, but it's not home. After 3 months of the same rotation, spaghetti Monday, tacos Tuesday, chicken Wednesday, fish Friday, you'd trade a month's pay for a burger that didn't come from an industrial freezer or a salad with actual vegetables instead of wilted lettuce. Chapter 3. The 18-hour workday. There are no weekends on an aircraft carrier, no holidays, no calling in sick. Christmas is just another work day. Your birthday passes without acknowledgement. You work your shift every single day for 6 months straight, and if you complain, you're told that's what you signed up for. Most sailors work 12 to 18-hour days depending on their rate and department. Flight deck crews work the longest. 18 hours on, 6 hours off. Repeat. That 6 hours includes eating, showering, and trying to sleep through flight operations that shake your rack like an earthquake. Do the math. That's 126 hours a week for 6 months. Your job doesn't stop because you're tired. If you're an aviation mechanic, you're troubleshooting a $70 million fighter jet at 2 a.m. in 90-degree heat with humidity so thick you're sweating through your uniform in minutes. If you're in ordnance, you're loading 500-pound bombs onto an aircraft in the dark while wearing a purple jersey that makes you a target for every piece of moving equipment on the flight deck. If you're in the reactor department, you're monitoring a nuclear power plant that provides several hundred megawatts of power and can never, ever shut down. The ship is divided into departments, each one critical to operations. Engineering keeps the reactors running and the lights on. Aviation maintains and launches aircraft supply, manages food, parts, and equipment. Medical handles everything from routine checkups to trauma surgery. And every single department is understaffed, overworked, and running on fumes by month 3. But fatigue becomes the real enemy. After 3 months at sea, everyone is running on coffee, energy drinks, and pure adrenaline. Mistakes happen. Tools get dropped. Safety protocols get rushed. Someone forgets to secure a hatch. Someone else miscalculates a fuel load. And in an environment where you're surrounded by jet fuel, live ordnance, and nuclear reactors, mistakes kill people. Therefore, the Navy implemented crew rest requirements, mandatory minimum hours between shifts. But they're more like suggestions when operations demand 24-hour readiness. When the ship is conducting flight operations in a combat zone, crew rest goes out the window. You work until the job is done, sleep when you can, and hope you don't make a mistake that gets someone killed. And your job isn't just your job. Everyone has collateral duties. You might be an electrician, but you're also the division's safety officer, the berthing cleaner, the guy who has to stand watch at the quarterdeck for 4 hours checking IDs, and the person responsible for updating training records. Your actual job is maybe 60% of what you do. The rest is administrative nonsense that keeps the bureaucracy running. The ship doesn't care if you're tired, the mission doesn't stop. And if you think you're getting a break when you pull into port, think again. That's when maintenance begins. That's when you're chipping paint, fixing equipment, and loading supplies for the next underway period. Port calls aren't vacations. They're just a different kind of work. Chapter 4. The bathroom situation. Let's talk about something nobody mentions in the recruitment videos. The heads. That's Navy speak for bathrooms. And when 5,000 people share a handful of them, things get medieval real fast. The heads are communal. No privacy, just a row of toilets with partial dividers that barely hide anything, a row of sinks with mirrors that are always fogged up, and a row of showers with curtains that don't quite close all the way. You learn to shower in 3 minutes flat because there's always someone waiting. And if you take too long, you'll hear about it. You learn to time your bathroom breaks around shift changes, or you're waiting in line for 20 minutes while doing the pee-pee dance like a kindergartner. You learn which heads are cleaner, which ones have better water pressure, and which ones to avoid entirely because the plumbing has been broken for 3 weeks and maintenance hasn't gotten around to fixing it yet. But here's the part that breaks people. Water is rationed. The ship makes its own fresh water through desalination, pulling salt out of seawater using the excess heat from the nuclear reactors. But even with 2 reactors running 24/7, the system can't keep up with 5,000 people showering daily, doing laundry, and using water for cooking and cleaning. Therefore, water hours get implemented during high-tempo operations. You can shower during specific times, and if you miss your window because you were working an 18-hour shift, you're waiting until the next day. Some sailors go 3 or 4 days without showering during intense flight operations. You start to recognize who's been working on the flight deck for 20 hours straight by the smell alone. Baby wipes become currency. Dry shampoo is worth its weight in gold. Deodorant gets applied in layers, and everyone just accepts that for 6 months, Nobody smells great, and that's okay, because we're all suffering together, and when the ship hits rough seas, the toilets back up. Sewage smells permeate entire berthing areas. Maintenance crews work around the clock to fix plumbing issues, but with 5,000 people using the system constantly, something is always breaking. You'll be trying to sleep and suddenly smell sewage, and you just pull your blanket over your head and try to ignore it, because what else can you do? This is the reality nobody talks about. The glamorous Navy recruitment videos don't show you waiting in line at 3 a.m. to use a toilet that's been clogged for 6 hours while some poor sailor with a plunger tries to fix it. Chapter 5. The Psychological Breaking Point. By month 3, the ship starts to feel smaller. The same faces, the same hallways, the same meals, the same routine. You're surrounded by 5,000 people, but you've never felt more alone. The walls close in. The ocean stretches endlessly in every direction, and you realize you're trapped. You miss your family. You miss your friends. You miss walking on ground that doesn't move. Some sailors have kids they haven't seen in months. Birthdays get missed. Anniversaries pass. Babies are born while their fathers are 5,000 miles away, staring at a phone screen on a spotty internet connection that costs $100 a month and barely loads a text message. Life back home continues without you. Your friends go to parties, your spouse handles everything alone. Your kids grow up, and you're stuck in a metal box in the middle of the ocean watching it all happen through a phone screen when you're lucky enough to have internet, which is rare and painfully slow. But here's what the Navy doesn't prepare you for. The isolation isn't physical, it's mental. You can't escape. You can't take a day off. You can't go for a drive to clear your head. You can't call in sick because you're having a bad mental health day. You're trapped in a 1,092-foot-long ship with the same people doing the same job every single day, and there's no escape until the ship pulls into port 6 months from now. Therefore, mental health becomes critical. The ship has chaplains, counselors, and mental health resources, but there's still a stigma. Sailors don't want to admit they're struggling because it might affect their career, their security clearance, or how their shipmates see them. So they suffer in silence, retreating into their racks, curtains closed, headphones in, trying to mentally escape a situation they physically can't. Some sailors cope by working out obsessively. The gym becomes therapy, lifting weights, running on treadmills that face a wall, anything to burn off the stress and frustration. Others throw themselves into their work, volunteering for extra shifts just to stay busy. Because idle time means thinking, and thinking means remembering everything you're missing back home. Some withdraw completely. They stop going to the galley, surviving on snacks from the ship's store. They stop socializing, spending every free moment in their rack. They stop caring about their appearance, their hygiene, their job. And their shipmates notice, but nobody knows what to say because everyone is struggling in their own way. But the ones who survive deployment intact are the ones who build a family on the ship. Your division becomes your brothers and sisters. You eat together, work together, suffer together. You celebrate birthdays with cakes from the galley. You play cards during downtime. You share care packages from home. That bond is what gets you through month 4, month 5, and finally month 6, when you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Chapter 6. The most dangerous workplace in America. The flight deck of an aircraft carrier is the most dangerous workplace in America. Jets taking off every 45 seconds, propellers spinning at lethal speeds, jet exhaust that can blow you overboard or cook you alive if you get too close, arresting cables under 50,000 pounds of tension that can cut you in half if they snap during a landing. Everyone on the flight deck wears color-coded jerseys so you know who does what. Yellow shirts direct aircraft. Purple shirts fuel them. Red shirts handle ordnance, bombs, missiles, ammunition. Green shirts maintain catapults and arresting gear. Brown shirts are plane captains responsible for individual aircraft. White shirts are safety observers. Blue shirts drive the tractors that move aircraft around the deck. But here's what makes it terrifying. You're working in the dark, in the rain, on a deck that's pitching and rolling with the waves, surrounded by million-dollar aircraft and live weapons. One mistake and someone dies. One moment of inattention and you're sucked into a jet intake, blown off the deck into the ocean, or crushed between two aircraft. The noise is deafening. Even with double hearing protection, earplugs, and a cranial helmet, the sound of jet engines at full power rattles your bones. You communicate through hand signals because verbal communication is impossible. And at night, when visibility drops to almost nothing, you're relying on muscle memory and trust that everyone around you knows what they're doing. Therefore, the training is brutal. Before you ever step foot on the flight deck during operations, you spend weeks learning hand signals, safety protocols, and emergency procedures. You learn to keep your head on a swivel. You learn that complacency kills. You learn that the flight deck doesn't care if you're tired, distracted, or having a bad day. It will kill you without hesitation. And people do die. Not often, but it happens. A sailor gets blown overboard during night operations and disappears into the Black Ocean. A plane captain gets too close to a spinning propeller and gets killed instantly. An arresting cable snaps during a landing and whips across the deck, cutting someone in half. The ship holds memorial services. The crew mourns, and then operations continue because the mission doesn't stop for grief. This is why the experienced sailors watch out for the new ones, why the old salts grab the boots before they make a fatal mistake, why everyone on that deck is responsible for everyone else's safety. Because out here, 5,000 miles from home, your shipmates are the only thing standing between you and disaster. Chapter 7. Why they do it. After 6 months at sea, the ship finally turns toward home. The announcement comes over the 1MC, the ship's intercom system, and the entire crew erupts in cheers. Grown men cry, people hug. The energy shifts from exhausted resignation to electric anticipation. The last week is a frenzy of cleaning and preparation. Everyone wants the ship to look perfect for homecoming. Spaces that haven't been deep cleaned in months get scrubbed. Equipment gets inspected. Uniforms get pressed. Sailors practice their homecoming speeches in their heads, imagining what they'll say to their families after 6 months apart. And then you see the pier. Thousands of families waiting, kids holding signs, spouses crying, parents waving flags. The ship pulls in, lines get thrown, the brow gets lowered, and suddenly you're running down the pier into the arms of people you thought you'd never see again. This is why they do it. Not for the paycheck. Navy pay is terrible compared to civilian jobs. Not for the glory. Most people don't understand what you do or why it matters. They do it for the mission, for the country, and for the family they built on that ship during 6 months of shared suffering. But here's the brutal truth. 3 months after you get home, you're doing it all over again. Another deployment. Another 6 months, another cycle of eating, sleeping, and working in a floating city that never stops. Because that's the reality of life on the world's largest aircraft carrier. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, but 5,000 sailors do it every single day, keeping a $13 billion warship operational in the middle of the ocean, and most people will never know their names. Now you know what life is really like for 5,000 sailors living on an aircraft carrier for months at sea. The cramped sleeping quarters where privacy doesn't exist. The industrial food operation that serves 18,000 meals a day. The 18-hour workdays that destroy your body and mind. The bathroom situation that would make most civilians quit on day one. And the psychological toll of isolation that breaks people who aren't prepared for it. We are committed to releasing 2 videos a week. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more AnchorWatch.